Hi, this is Ren, and this is All Walks of Film. Next up, we have film editing. This is a category that's near and dear to me because I have contributed to editing of all the films I've made personally, as well as all the videos on this channel. Yes, I am still learning, so I won't deny that there is still much to be improved on my end. But each video and film I work on teaches me more and more about the art and craft of editing from a personal stance. The more films I watch, the more I can see the methods and styles film editors use to tell their stories. Orienting the audience, pacing, creating a subjective or objective mood, etc. The films nominated are Arrival, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, La La Land, and Moonlight. Arrival seems to be nominated more for its narrative structure than anything else. If you haven't seen the film, I'll give you a moment to skip past this part on the bottom. Given the story reveals itself to be a non-linear story, much of the film relies on visual parallels from beginning to end. The entire film is revealed in segments. Her daughter glimpses into the future when she has written a book and has actually somehow figured out world peace. The film is incrementally sprinkling you with information, but the reveal is held off until it's absolutely pertinent to the story. As for the other editing in the film, there are many good moments, such as when they approach the spaceship, as well as the scene where Abbott saves Louise from the bomb. Overall, I think the pacing was very deliberate and competent. However, the Malick-esque time jumps merely felt like an imitation rather than something new. Next up, we have Hacksaw Ridge. Hacksaw Ridge, unlike any of the other films nominated in this category, is a war film. The editing is often very sound and direction-oriented. That is, editing in a way that highlights one side or the other. The Americans head from the left of the screen to the right, and the bottom to the top. The Japanese head in the exact opposite way. This attempts to orient the audience with the Americans, while making the Japanese simply a force to be reckoned with. I did have a problem with the color grading in the film since it was often inconsistent. At times, distinguishing between the Japanese and Americans, save for green and tan uniforms, was really hard. You could tell that the Japanese were wearing tan uniforms and the Americans were wearing green uniforms, but given that the color grading was muted, as well as making the time of day and weather completely sporadic, it was hard to follow. Perhaps you can make the argument that that was the point of those scenes, to highlight the chaos of it all. Overall, I thought the editing was really good, but it was nothing I hadn't seen before. And in comparison with other great war films, such as Saving Private Ryan or Thin Red Line, this film pales in comparison. Hell or High Water had great editing. All the heist scenes were tense. The quieter moments served their purpose and were well paced. This was a well-edited movie. Did it bring anything new to the table? No, but that's okay. The editing was very good and served its purpose very well. La La Land has a very strong chance of winning, because it follows the trend of musicals. While not as impressive as Whiplash, Tom Cross returns to do some very competent work. There are moments with great editing, like the pool party, and everything that has to do with Seb selling out and trying to fuse old jazz with new, which objectively sounds great, but the editing in the scene shows us that he hates it. The editing pulls us into Seb's mindset, and while we might like the song, we can see why it's breaking his heart. Moonlight's editing was not only competent, but transformative. Capturing moments that would parallel later in the film was a huge task to achieve, but it's certainly more impressive than Arrival. And this isn't just because I prefer Moonlight. They managed to get 3 actors who objectively look different from each other and meld them together. One of the most impressive moments was when weak teenage Chiron transforms into the hulking man who goes by the name of Black. Unlike most of the other picks, the editing is quiet and often doesn't draw attention to itself. I oftentimes forgot about the editing because I was so captured in the moment. And from an editing standpoint, that is one of the greatest compliments you can give an editor. Overall, I personally think that Moonlight's editing deserves to win the most. But if I were going to speak of who I think will win, I think La La Land once again has the edge.